The Montecito sun rose gently over the sprawling Sussex estate, bathing the manicured lawns and high walls in soft golden light. Birds chirped in the trees beyond the gates, and for a brief moment, there was only peace. Inside the mansion, Prince Harry was enjoying a rare calm morning, sipping coffee by the window as Archie and Lilibet's laughter echoed faintly down the hallways. It was in moments like this, he thought, that all the struggles, all the sacrifices had been worth it. He had chosen this quiet life far away from royal scrutiny to protect his family and find healing from a past riddled with trauma. But peace has a way of shattering when you least expect it. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. A knock came at the front gate. At first, Harry thought nothing of it. Visitors were rare and usually announced. But this knock was followed by a flurry of voices over the intercom. The security team's tone unusually urgent. Harry furrowed his brow, setting down his cup. "Sir, there's a young woman here. She says she's Meghan's daughter." The words felt like ice water being poured down Harry's spine. He blinked, certain he had misheard. "What?" His voice was sharp now, the calm morning forgotten. "She's demanding to see Mrs. Markle. Says it's a family matter. She's got ID." "Sir, she looks just like her." Harry's heart thudded heavily in his chest. He rose slowly from his chair, his mind racing. Meghan's daughter? No. Impossible. Meghan would have told him, wouldn't she? He walked briskly to the security monitor. On the screen was a young woman, no older than her early 20s. Her eyes, almond-shaped, dark, intense, mirrored Meghan's so perfectly that Harry felt an involuntary shiver run through him. There was something in her expression, too, a mix of determination and sadness. "Let her in," Harry heard himself say, though part of him wanted to scream for the girl to leave, to vanish before she could drop the bombshell hanging between her and their lives. As the gate swung open, Harry's thoughts turned to Meghan. She was upstairs, finishing a Zoom call for one of her charity initiatives. Should he tell her now? Should he prepare her? But before he could make a decision, the girl was standing at the door. And she wasn't alone. Doria Ragland, Meghan's mother, had arrived too, her face pale and drawn, her eyes heavy with an emotion Harry couldn't read. Doria rarely came unannounced. And she never looked like this. "Harry," she said softly, "we need to talk." Harry's throat went dry. "What's going on, Doria? Who is this girl?" The young woman stepped forward. Her voice was steady but quivering at the edges. "My name is Sophia. Meghan is my mother. I've come for the truth." The words detonated like a bomb in Harry's chest. He stumbled backward slightly, gripping the doorframe for support. His mind reeled with memories, late-night conversations with Meghan about her childhood, her struggles, her family. Not once had she mentioned a child. Not once had there been even a hint of this secret. Doria reached for Harry's arm gently. "Harry, Meghan didn't tell you because she wanted to protect her image. She wanted to protect you too. But it's time you know." Harry pulled away, staring at Sophia as if trying to recognize her features, to piece together a puzzle he didn't even know existed until 30 seconds ago. "You're saying Meghan hid a child? All this time?" Sophia nodded, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. "She gave me up when I was born. And now I want answers. I want my mother." Harry felt his stomach knot in a way that reminded him too much of the worst days of his life. The days after Diana's death, the endless lies, the press-spinning narratives while the truth was buried 6 feet under. He took a shaky breath. "Where's Meghan?" he muttered, though his voice sounded foreign to his own ears. "She's upstairs," Doria said. "But Harry, before you speak to her, let me explain." Harry wanted to scream. He wanted to run. He wanted to demand answers from Meghan, but he was rooted to the spot as Doria led Sophia inside. In that moment, Harry realized his world had just changed forever. The woman he loved, the mother of his children, the person he had defended against the most powerful monarchy in the world, had been keeping a secret so massive it threatened to obliterate the fragile trust they had built together. What else, he thought bitterly, had she hidden? And if this was true, could their marriage survive? This sets the tone for the entire exposé, pulling viewers in with high emotional stakes, a shocking revelation, and lingering questions about betrayal, truth, and family. Harry's footsteps echoed down the hall like distant thunder. Each step felt heavier than the last, as though gravity itself was conspiring to pull him into the earth. His mind spun with images, Meghan cradling Archie as a newborn, Meghan's laugh at the wedding reception, Meghan holding his hand in the darkest days of their departure from royal life. Could all of that have been a facade? He stopped at the base of the stairs and looked up. At the top of the landing, sunlight streamed through a large window, bathing the space in warmth. It felt cruel, the way the world seemed unchanged while his own life tilted violently off axis. Behind him, Sophia stood silently. Her posture was straight, but her trembling hands betrayed her anxiety. Doria hovered nearby, watching Harry with guarded eyes, as if she too feared how deeply this revelation might cut. Harry turned to her. "How long have you known?" His voice was low but edged with a sharpness that made Doria flinch. "Since the day Sophia was born," Doria admitted quietly. "I raised her for a few years, then she went to live with her father's family for a while. Meghan, she was very young, Harry. She thought this was the only way." "The only way?" Harry's voice cracked, his composure slipping. "The only way to what? Protect her acting career? Protect her image for the royals? Or protect me from knowing the truth?" Doria took a step forward, her hands raised in a soothing gesture. "Harry, please understand." "Understand?" Harry cut her off. "I left everything I knew." The days leading up to the revelation had been some of the most peaceful Harry could remember since stepping down from royal duties. Montecito offered a kind of tranquility that London never could. No flashbulbs popping every time he stepped outside, no cold stares from palisades, no whispers behind curtains about despair making waves again. Here, there was only the sound of the ocean in the distance, the gentle sway of palm trees, and the laughter of his children echoing across the wide halls of their California estate. Harry had convinced himself he was healing. Every morning he woke up, wrapped an arm around Meghan, and reminded himself that they had survived what others couldn't. He reminded himself that this was a new beginning, a chance to rewrite history, to give his children the childhood he and William never had. But if he'd learned anything from his years under a microscope, it was that appearances can lie. That morning had begun no differently from any other. Archie had barreled into their bedroom at sunrise, clutching a stuffed dinosaur in one hand and shouting about pancakes. Lilibet followed shortly after, toddling unsteadily as she tried to keep up with her big brother. Meghan laughed, scooping Lilibet into her arms and kissing her soft curls. Harry watched the scene with quiet contentment. For all the chaos they'd endured, tabloid attacks, strained family ties, endless judgment, these small moments reminded him why they'd left England in the first place. He made the children breakfast while Meghan fielded emails from her team about her latest charitable endeavor. She moved around the kitchen effortlessly, one hand stirring coffee, the other typing on her phone. Harry admired how she always seemed in control, unflappable even when the world turned against her. Still, he couldn't shake the faint unease that had been creeping in lately. It started weeks ago, small things he brushed off at first. There had been a phone call Meghan had taken in another room, her voice low and urgent. When he'd asked about it, she'd smiled tightly and said it was just business. And then there was Doria. She had visited recently but seemed distracted, almost nervous, as though something weighed heavily on her mind. Harry chalked it up to her concern for Meghan, who had been under immense stress juggling motherhood and her public image. But deep down, Harry wondered if there was something more. Later that morning, as Meghan prepared for a Zoom call with her foundation, Harry decided to take a walk around the grounds with Archie and Lilibet. The estate's gardens were in full bloom, an explosion of color and life. Archie ran ahead, pretending the flowers were monsters he had to defeat, while Harry held Lilibet's hand and pointed out butterflies fluttering lazily in the warm air. For a brief moment, he felt completely at peace. But the illusion shattered with the buzz of his phone. "Sir," came the voice of one of their security team. "There's a situation at the gate." Harry's stomach tightened. A situation at the gate almost always meant paparazzi trying to sneak photos or overzealous fans who had tracked down their location. "What kind of situation?" he asked, trying to keep his tone even. The guard hesitated. "It's complicated, sir. There's a young woman here. She says she's family." Harry frowned. "Family? From my side or Meghan's?" "She claims to be Mrs. Markle's daughter, sir." Harry stopped walking. The air seemed to leave his lungs all at once. "What did you just say?" "She says she's Meghan's daughter. She's asking to see your mother." "Sir, you should come to the gate." As Harry turned back toward the house, 1,000 thoughts swirled in his mind. A mistake, surely. This had to be a mistake. Meghan didn't have a daughter. She would have told him, wouldn't she? But the guard's words echoed in his head like a drumbeat. "She says she's Meghan's daughter." When Harry reached the gate, he saw her. A young woman stood there, her arms crossed tightly over her chest as though shielding herself from the world. She couldn't have been older than 21. Her features were strikingly familiar: dark eyes, high cheekbones, and a jawline that mirrored Meghan's so precisely Harry felt his heart lurch in his chest. "Who are you?" Harry asked, his voice quieter than he intended. "My name is Sophia," she said firmly. "Meghan Markle is my mother, and I want to see her." Harry's mind reeled. This wasn't possible. It couldn't be. But as he stared into Sophia's eyes, he saw the same fire, the same unflinching determination that had drawn him to Meghan all those years ago. He turned to the head of security. "Let her in." The man hesitated. "Sir." "Let her in," Harry snapped, his voice rising with an intensity he barely recognized. As the gates creaked open, Harry's pulse thundered in his ears. Behind Sophia, another figure emerged from a parked car, Doria Ragland. Her face was pale, her expression haunted. Harry's stomach dropped. Doria didn't come unannounced. Ever. Whatever this was, it wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't a prank. It was the truth, coming to his doorstep like a storm he couldn't outrun. This is 1,846 words into Chapter 1 so far. Harry felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him like an iron fist around his chest. The warm Montecito air, which only minutes earlier had seemed so calm and life-giving, now felt thick and suffocating. His eyes darted between Doria and Sophia as they stepped through the gates, both moving slowly, as though they too sensed the enormity of what was about to unfold. Sophia's posture was rigid, her hands clenched at her sides. There was defiance in her eyes, but beneath it, Harry could see something else: fear, pain, and an unmistakable hunger for answers. Doria looked older than Harry remembered. Her usual aura of strength and quiet dignity was still there, but now it was overlaid with something heavier. Guilt. Harry forced himself to speak. His voice cracked slightly, betraying his own storm of emotions. "Doria, tell me this isn't true." Doria stopped a few feet from him and shook her head slowly. "Harry, I'm so sorry." The words hit him like a physical blow. "Oh God." Harry staggered back, running a hand through his hair. "She lied to me. All these years. Meghan lied to me." "Harry, listen to me," Doria began, but Harry raised a trembling hand to stop her. No, I don't want excuses. I want the truth. Right now? Who is this girl? Why is she here?" Sophia stepped forward, her voice steady though her lip trembled. "I'm here because I deserve to be. I'm Meghan's daughter. She gave birth to me 21 years ago, and she left me. She left me behind to chase her perfect life. And now, I want answers. I want her to look me in the eye and tell me why I wasn't good enough." Harry's chest heaved as the words sank in. He couldn't tear his eyes away from Sophia. She looked so much like Meghan it was dizzying, yet there was no warmth in her expression, no sense of reunion or relief. Only accusation. Doria stepped in again, her voice low and urgent. "Harry, Meghan was young, barely out of her teens. She thought giving Sophia up was the only way. She didn't have the resources or the support then. And later, when her life started moving so fast, when the acting roles came, when she met you, she didn't know how to bring it up. She was afraid of losing everything." "Afraid of losing everything?" Harry's voice cracked into a bitter laugh. "She already lost everything the moment she had something like this from me. From our family." He turned toward the house. Meghan was still upstairs, unaware of the bombshell about to detonate in her carefully curated world. "Where's Meghan?" Sophia demanded, her voice rising. "She needs to see me. Now." Harry froze. The weight of her words pulled him in two directions at once. Part of him wanted to protect Meghan, shield her from this collision of past and present. The other part, the part that had been betrayed, wanted her to face it head-on, to see the damage her secrecy had wrought. As they entered the grand foyer, the sounds of the children's laughter echoed faintly from the playroom. Archie and Lilibet, innocent and unaware of the chaos about to unfold. Harry felt a pang deep in his chest. How would this revelation impact them? Would they even understand? He turned to Doria, his voice hoarse now, barely above a whisper. "Does Meghan know you're here?" Doria hesitated. "Not yet. I tried to call her this morning, but she didn't pick up." "Harry, please don't be too harsh on her. She thought she was doing what was best." Harry's jaw tightened. "Best for who?" "Because it sure as hell wasn't best for me, and it wasn't best for Sophia." Sophia stared at him, her eyes glistening but unyielding. "She can't hide from me anymore. Not now. Not ever again." Harry's stomach churned as he began climbing the stairs. Each step felt like a march towards something irreversible. He glanced over his shoulder at Doria and Sophia, their expressions a mirror of his own dread. At the top of the landing, Harry stopped, his hand resting on the door handle to the bedroom. He could hear Meghan's voice through the door, light and pleasant as she wrapped up her call. "Thank you so much for all your hard work. I really appreciate it. Let's touch base again next week." The sound of her laughter was like a knife twisting in Harry's chest. This wasn't going to be a conversation. This was going to be an explosion. Harry's hand hovered over the doorknob, his breath shallow and rapid. He could feel the heat rising up his neck, a mix of fear, rage, and disbelief coursing through his veins. 1,000 thoughts collided in his mind like shards of broken glass. How could Meghan have hidden this? Why hadn't she trusted him with the truth? And now, how could they ever recover from a secret so devastating? He turned slightly, looking back at Sophia and Doria standing at the bottom of the staircase. Sophia's arms were crossed, her chin held high in defiance, but Harry could see the tears pooling in her eyes. Doria's gaze was fixed on him, silently pleading for understanding, for patience. But Harry felt neither. He felt betrayed. He turned the doorknob slowly. The door creaked open, and Meghan, sitting on the edge of the bed with her laptop balanced on her knees, looked up. Her expression shifted from cheerful surprise to concern in an instant. "Harry? Is something wrong?" Harry didn't answer. His lips parted, but the words tangled in his throat. He stepped aside, and then Sophia appeared in the doorway. Meghan's face went pale. Her eyes darted from Sophia to Harry, then to Doria, who had followed them upstairs and now lingered a few steps behind. The silence was so thick it felt alive, pressing on every corner of the room. "Meghan," Harry said at last, his voice low and trembling. "Do you know this girl?" For a moment, Meghan looked as if she might deny it. Her mouth opened, then closed again. Her hands trembled as she set the laptop aside. "Sophia," Meghan whispered, her voice barely audible. Sophia stepped forward, her eyes blazing with emotion. "You remember me, don't you?" she demanded. "You remember the daughter you gave up to protect your perfect little life?" Harry felt as if the air had been sucked out of the room. The next few seconds seemed to stretch on endlessly. Meghan rose slowly to her feet, her expression stricken, her mouth quivering as though forming words was an impossible task. I didn't know how to tell you," Meghan finally said, her voice cracking. "Harry, I was young. I was scared. I thought it was the only way." "The only way?" Harry's voice was sharp, almost venomous. "The only way to what, Meghan? Protect yourself? Protect your image? Or protect me from ever finding out the truth?" Meghan's eyes filled with tears. "Please, Harry, let me explain." "Explain?" Harry snapped. "How do you explain hiding a whole human being from me? From your husband?" Sophia's voice cut through the room like a blade. "You don't explain it. You own it. You left me behind so you could play the role of the perfect Duchess. And now? You don't get to pretend I don't exist anymore." Meghan turned to Sophia, her tears spilling over. "I didn't leave you because I didn't love you," she said, her voice shaking. "I left because I thought it was the only way you'd have a chance at a good life. I wasn't ready. I was barely more than a child myself." Sophia shook her head, her jaw tight. "You were ready enough to build a new family. You were ready enough to play mother to Archie and Lilibet. But for me, you weren't ready." Harry stood still, his fists clenched at his sides. The woman he loved, the woman he defended against the might of the royal family and the brutality of the British press, was unraveling before his eyes. And the worst part was, he didn't know if he could forgive her. Doria stepped into the room cautiously, her voice soft but firm. "Harry, Meghan didn't do this out of malice. She was overwhelmed. She thought she was protecting everyone, Sophia, herself, and even you." Harry turned to her, his eyes blazing. "Don't ask me to feel sorry for her, Doria. Not now. Do you have any idea what this does to me? To us? I left everything for Meghan. I put my faith in her. And she's been living a lie this entire time." Meghan collapsed onto the bed, her face buried in her hands as sobs racked her body. "I'm sorry," she whispered over and over again. "I'm so sorry." But Harry didn't move to comfort her. For the first time since they met, he felt a chasm opening between them, wide and unbridgeable. Sophia's voice came again, quieter now but laced with steel. "I didn't come here to destroy your marriage. I came here because I deserve to know my mother. I deserve to be acknowledged." Harry turned back to Meghan, his voice low but cutting. "What happens now, Meghan? What happens to our family? What happens to Archie and Lilibet when this comes out?" Meghan looked up, her eyes swollen and red. "I don't know," she admitted. "I don't know." And in that moment, Harry realized neither of them had control anymore. The room felt smaller now, the air thick with an almost suffocating silence. Harry stood frozen in place, his mind spinning like a top ready to collapse. Meghan's sobs echoed softly off the walls, each one a dagger slicing into his chest. He wanted to speak, to scream, to demand an answer that could somehow make sense of the betrayal consuming him, but no words came. Sophia stood near the door, her posture rigid, her eyes locked on Meghan. There was no warmth in her gaze, only a complex storm of hurt, anger, and longing. It was the look of a daughter who had waited her whole life for this moment, not for a reunion filled with hugs and tears of joy, but for a reckoning. Harry turned to Sophia, his voice tight and brittle. "How long have you known?" Sophia glanced at him briefly before answering, her voice calm but laced with bitterness. "I've known since I was 13. That's when I found the birth certificate tucked in my grandmother's things. It didn't take long to connect the dots." Meghan Markle. The rising Hollywood actress, the humanitarian, the woman the world adored, was my mother. And she had erased me. Meghan flinched at the words. Her hands trembled as she reached for Sophia, but the young woman recoiled instinctively, stepping back toward the wall. "Don't," Sophia said sharply. "Don't you dare reach for me like you didn't spend 2 decades pretending I didn't exist." "Please," Meghan whispered, her voice cracking. "Please let me explain." Harry let out a bitter laugh, one devoid of any joy. "Yes, Meghan. Explain. Because God knows I deserve one. You've had years to tell me, and you didn't. Was it easier to keep me in the dark? Or were you afraid the royal family would find out and it would ruin your perfect narrative of being the wrong duchess?" Meghan's head snapped up, her tear-streaked face twisting in pain. "That's not fair, Harry. You know what I went through. You know how hard it was for me to be accepted, how much they—" Harry cut her off, his voice rising. "Don't you dare turn this around on them. This isn't about the royals. This is about you lying to me, to your husband, to our children." Doria, standing silently in the corner until now, stepped forward cautiously. "Harry," she said softly, "I know this is devastating, but please." Meghan was very young when this happened. She didn't have the means or the stability to raise Sophia. She thought wrong. Harry exploded, his voice reverberating through the house. She thought it was better to bury her past than face it. And now look where we are. Sophia's voice, surprisingly steady, cut through the tension. "I didn't come here to watch you two destroy each other. I came here for the truth. And I want to hear it from her." She turned her full attention to Meghan. "Why did you give me up? Why wasn't I good enough to be part of your life?" Meghan's hands fell to her sides. She looked smaller somehow, her usual air of confidence stripped away entirely. "You were good enough," she said, her voice hoarse. "You were perfect. I wasn't ready. I didn't have the resources. Your father and we weren't in a place to raise a child. I thought if I gave you up, you'd have a better chance." Sophia's lip curled in anger. "A better chance? With strangers? Do you know what it's like to watch your mother rise to fame, to marry a prince, to hold 2 children in her arms and never once acknowledge you exist? Do you know what that does to someone?" Meghan's sobs came harder now, her body shaking as she sank back onto the bed. "I thought I was protecting you," she said through tears. "I thought I was doing the right thing." Harry moved to the window, staring out at the bright California sun that now seemed so cruel in its warmth. He pressed a hand to his forehead, trying to still the pounding in his skull. "How many more secrets are there, Meghan?" he asked quietly. "How am I supposed to believe anything you've ever told me?" Meghan's head shot up, her eyes wide with panic. "There are no more secrets. I swear to you, Harry. This was the only one." Harry turned to face her, his face hard and unreadable. "I believed in us. I believed in you. And now I don't even know who you are." The words seemed to hit Meghan harder than any shout. She flinched as if struck, her sobs dissolving into silence. Sophia, still standing by the door, crossed her arms and looked at Harry. "Whatever happens between you two isn't my concern. I just want the truth. And I want to know if there's a place for me in this family, or if I'm still a secret you plan to bury." Harry's chest rose and fell as he looked between the 2 women, his wife, and the stranger who wasn't a stranger at all. The weight of the choice ahead pressed on him like a physical force. This wasn't just about forgiveness anymore. It was about trust. About whether their marriage could survive the cracks splitting it apart. And as Harry stood in the center of the room, he realized that nothing in his life, no royal scandal, no tabloid headline, no betrayal from his own family had ever prepared him for this moment. This was the kind of secret that could destroy everything. And the storm had only just begun. After the storm of accusations and raw emotions in the bedroom, the house settled into an uneasy quiet. Harry sat heavily on a plush armchair near the window, the weight of what he had just witnessed pressing down on him. Across the room, Meghan remained curled on the bed, her sobs now soft and intermittent. Sophia stood silently by the door, her gaze distant yet unwavering. It was Doria who finally broke the silence. "Harry," she said gently, her voice carrying years of both strength and sorrow, "there's more you need to understand." Harry looked up, tired and wary. "I want to hear it," he said, voice low. "Every word." Doria took a deep breath, gathering herself before beginning. Meghan was only 19 when she found out she was pregnant with Sophia. She was just starting her acting career in Los Angeles, living in a small apartment with little money and fewer options. The father was someone she cared about, but the relationship was complicated, young, and unstable. Harry's mind flashed back to the early days of Meghan's life, the story she had told him about struggle and ambition, but nothing so raw or personal as this. Meghan was terrified, Doria continued. She didn't want to be a young mother. She was scared for her future, for her career, for the life she wanted to build, not just for herself, but for Sophia too. She believed that if she kept the child, she would lose everything. Harry leaned forward, his eyes fixed on Doria. How could she think that? Because, Harry, that was the reality for many young women in Hollywood. And for Meghan, the stakes were even higher. She dreamed of success, of making a difference, of rising above the circumstances she'd been born into. She feared the judgment, the stigma, the backlash that came with being a single mother so early in her career. Doria's voice cracked slightly, and Harry saw the pain in her eyes, a pain that went beyond what words could express. "So what happened?" Harry asked softly. "After Sophia was born, Meghan made the heartbreaking decision to give her up to my care for a time. I raised her as best I could, but I wasn't able to provide everything she needed. Eventually, Sophia was sent to live with relatives in another state, people who could offer her a more stable home." Harry's throat tightened. "And Meghan? Did she ever try to come back?" Doria shook her head. "She wanted to, every day. But the pressure was immense. The Hollywood machine, the constant scrutiny, the fear of losing her chance at a career, it all became overwhelming. And when she met you, Harry, she hoped to start fresh, to bury the past where it couldn't hurt her anymore." Harry's mind raced, grappling with the enormity of what Doria was saying. It explained the silence, the secrecy, but it didn't ease the sting of betrayal. "So she kept this secret not just from me, but from herself," Harry said quietly. "She built a life on lies." Doria reached out, placing a comforting hand on Harry's shoulder. "Not lies, Harry. Protection. Fear. Survival." Harry closed his eyes, memories flooding back. The dark days after Diana's death, the relentless press, the suffocating expectations. He understood fear all too well. "But what about now?" he asked. "What happens to Sophia? What happens to our family?" Doria's gaze was steady. "Now, the truth is out. And it's time to face it, no matter how painful. Sophia deserves to be part of this family. Meghan needs to make peace with her past, for all your sakes." Harry nodded slowly, the first glimmer of acceptance piercing through the turmoil. "This changes everything," he murmured. "But it doesn't have to end us," Doria said gently. Harry looked toward Meghan, still curled on the bed, and then back at Sophia standing near the door. Two women connected by blood, divided by years of silence and secrets. The road ahead would be difficult, unforgiving, but it was a road they would have to travel together. Sophia stood by the window, the afternoon light casting long shadows across her face. For years, she had lived in the background, a silent, unacknowledged part of Meghan's story that the world never knew. Now, with the truth finally out in the open, there was no turning back. She began to speak, her voice steady but carrying the weight of 2 decades of pain and unanswered questions. "I want you to understand what it was like growing up as the secret daughter of someone the world worshipped." Harry and Meghan listened intently, the room charged with raw emotion. "I wasn't raised by Meghan," Sophia continued, "not after the first few years. I was passed from family to family, always the outsider. People whispered about me, about who I was, what I meant. I had no last name, no public identity, just a shadow of a life." She paused, swallowing hard. "Watching my mother on television and magazines, at charity events, it was like looking at a stranger. Someone who had everything I was denied." Harry felt a tightness in his chest as he pictured the little girl forced into invisibility. "Did you ever try to reach out?" Meghan asked quietly. Sophia shook her head. "I was afraid. Afraid she'd reject me again. Afraid I'd be hurt even more. So I kept my distance, waiting for a moment when maybe she was ready. But when that moment never came, I realized I had to take control." She looked directly at Meghan, her eyes shining with determination. Coming here today wasn't easy. I knew it would shatter everything. But I'm not here to destroy you or your family. I'm here because I want a relationship. I want to be part of the family I was born into, not just a footnote hidden away. Harry felt a flicker of hope amid the turmoil. This wasn't just a confrontation, it was a chance for healing. What do you want from me? Meghan asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Sophia smiled faintly, a glimmer of vulnerability breaking through. I want honesty. I want acknowledgement. I want to be seen, not as a secret, but as your daughter. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the air conditioner. Harry realized that this moment was a crossroads for all of them. Could Meghan embrace her past and make room for Sophia? Could Sophia find the family she had been denied for so long? And could Harry find a way to hold it all together? The answer wasn't clear yet, but one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. In the quiet that followed Sophia's heartfelt confession, Harry found himself retreating inward. The revelation wasn't just a shock, it was seismic, shaking the foundations of everything he thought he knew about his marriage, his family, and himself. Harry had always struggled with trust. The wounds left by his mother's tragic death, the betrayals within the royal family, and the relentless scrutiny of the public had left scars that never fully healed. Yet with Meghan, he had believed he had found a sanctuary, a partnership forged in honesty and shared dreams. Now, that sanctuary felt like a fragile illusion. He remembered the early days with Meghan, the excitement of discovering a partner who understood him, who shared his vision of a different kind of life. Together, they dreamed of escaping the monarchy's shadow and raising their children free from its weight. But beneath the surface, secrets had festered. Harry's mind replayed moments that suddenly took on new meaning. The furtive glances Meghan cast when asked about her past, the deflections when questions about family arose, the moments when she seemed distant, burdened. Had he missed the signs? His thoughts drifted to his own mother, Princess Diana, whose life had been plagued by secrets and betrayals. The parallels were haunting. Harry had left England to protect his family from the same toxic environment that had consumed Diana, yet here he was again, facing a truth that threatened to unravel everything. The weight of the secret was not just Meghan's to bear, it was his too. He felt the sting of betrayal keenly, but also the ache of sympathy. Meghan had been a young woman caught between worlds, torn by impossible choices. But sympathy didn't erase the pain. Harry's nights became restless. He found himself pacing the halls of the Montecito estate, the silence broken only by distant ocean waves. He worried for his children, Archie and Lilibet, innocent souls who deserved a family untainted by lies and hidden pasts. Could he protect them from the fallout? Could he protect himself? The strain took a toll on his relationship with Meghan. Arguments erupted over the smallest things, each a spark threatening to ignite the entire house. Trust, once a bedrock of their bond, felt shattered and irreparable. Harry wrestled with his emotions, love, anger, hurt, confusion, all tangled in a web of betrayal. Could he forgive Meghan? Could he rebuild what had been broken? He found solace in moments alone with Sophia. Despite the pain, he saw in her a reflection of Meghan and also a chance for healing. Sophia's courage in facing the truth inspired him, reminding Harry that family was not just about blood or secrets, but about acceptance and truth. Yet, even as he reached out to Sophia, the question lingered: could Meghan truly embrace her past and the family she had hidden for so long? Harry's shattered world was now a complex tapestry of fractured trust and fragile hope, a world where every decision could either break or rebuild the family he had fought so hard to protect. And the next steps would define not only their future but their very souls. The news of Meghan's secret daughter was a seismic shock that rippled far beyond the walls of the Montecito estate. Within hours, whispers and rumors erupted in royal circles, the media frenzy igniting like wildfire across headlines worldwide. Back in London, Buckingham Palace faced an unprecedented crisis. The carefully maintained image of the Sussexes, already fractured by their departure and outspoken criticism of the monarchy, now lay in tatters. Courtiers scrambled to assess the damage and craft a response that could contain the scandal before it spiraled further out of control. Prince Charles, now King Charles, was said to be deeply disturbed by the revelations. Sources close to the palace reported his concern over the potential impact on the royal family's reputation and the ongoing tensions with Harry and Meghan. There's a feeling of betrayal, one insider revealed. Harry has always been seen as the son who left, but could be brought back. Now, with this revelation, it feels like the fissures have grown too wide to mend. Meanwhile, Prince William was reportedly furious, not only about Meghan's secrecy but about Harry's refusal to come clean sooner. The rift between the brothers, already strained by the Sussexes' public critiques, widened as William questioned Harry's judgment and the choices that had brought their family to this breaking point. Across the British press, the headlines ranged from sympathetic to scathing. Some tabloids accused Meghan of manipulation and deceit, painting her as a woman who would sacrifice family bonds to protect her public image. Others framed Sophia's arrival as a courageous act, demanding the truth and challenging the royal family's long history of secrecy and suppression. Public opinion was deeply divided. Social media exploded with hashtags both supporting Meghan and denouncing her. Commentators debated fiercely about the ethics of Meghan's choices, the impact on Harry, and the future of the monarchy itself. For Harry, the media storm was unbearable. He found himself thrust back into the relentless spotlight he had fled, his every move scrutinized, every emotional moment dissected and sensationalized. The weight of public expectation bore down on him as he struggled to navigate the fallout. He saw in Sophia's courage a mirror of his own struggles, both fighting to be heard and accepted in a world that demanded perfection and silence about messy truths. Back at Montecito, the family faced difficult decisions. How to handle the media, how to protect the children from invasive questions, how to reconcile publicly with a secret that had already become headline news. Meghan grappled with the crushing reality that her past was no longer private. Her carefully crafted image as a global humanitarian and beloved duchess was now tarnished by accusations of secrecy and abandonment. In an emergency meeting with her public relations team, Meghan debated issuing a statement. The pressure was immense. Too much silence risked speculation and rumors. Too much disclosure risked exposing her family to further pain. Harry, meanwhile, wrestled with his own feelings of helplessness. The royal family's cold response only deepened his sense of isolation. The palace that once was his home had become a fortress of judgment and division. The question on everyone's mind was clear. Could this family survive the public storm? Or was this the final fracture that would irreparably sever ties, both personal and royal? The answers were unknown, but one thing was certain: the royal family's reaction to this revelation would shape the future of the monarchy for years to come. The weight of public scrutiny and private anguish bore down heavily on Meghan. Isolated in the quiet confines of the Montecito estate, she grappled with the swirling storm both inside and outside her home. To the world, she had been a beacon of strength and grace. But beneath that polished exterior was a woman haunted by decisions made in fear and desperation. Meghan's voice was low and raw as she began to explain her side of the story, a side that few had heard before. When I was young, the world felt like an impossible place. I was scared of judgment, of losing everything I had worked so hard for, of being labeled a failure. She paused, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. I thought I was protecting everyone by keeping Sophia's existence a secret. I wanted to shield her from the harsh glare of public life, and I wanted to protect Harry, too. I didn't want my past to overshadow the life we were building together. Harry listened silently, his face unreadable. He knew the courage it took for Meghan to open up, but the pain was still fresh, and the wounds ran deep. I wasn't ready to be a mother then, Meghan continued. I was barely an adult myself, trying to build a career in an industry that doesn't forgive mistakes. I was terrified of losing control of my narrative, my future. Sophia, sitting quietly nearby, looked at Meghan with a mixture of empathy and unresolved hurt. Do you understand how it felt to be erased? Sophia asked softly. To live in the shadows while the woman who gave birth to me built a life that didn't include me? Meghan nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. I know, and I am so sorry. I thought I was doing what was best, but I realize now that I was wrong. I was selfish in my fear. Harry's voice broke the silence. Fear doesn't excuse betrayal. Meghan swallowed hard, but didn't back down. I never wanted to hurt you, Harry, or anyone else. I wanted to survive. I wanted to give Sophia a chance, even if it meant sacrificing my own happiness. The room was heavy with emotion. Meghan's justification was a window into a past fraught with pain and difficult choices, but it was also a reminder that even the strongest among us can falter. Outside the walls of Montecito, the media dissected every word, every tear, every moment of this private reckoning. Experts weighed in on Meghan's actions, some offering sympathy, others condemning her decisions as calculated and self-serving. Psychologists spoke of the immense pressures young women face in the public eye, torn between personal truths and the demands of a global audience. Family therapists highlighted the complexities of estranged relationships and the long road toward forgiveness. For Harry, Meghan's explanation raised as many questions as it answered. Could love survive such deep wounds? Could trust be rebuilt on a foundation fractured by secrets? The children remained blissfully unaware, their innocence a fragile bubble amid the chaos. Protecting them became Harry's paramount concern. In the days that followed, Meghan began reaching out to Sophia more openly, initiating conversations and tentative steps toward healing. But the path was far from smooth. Old resentments simmered beneath the surface, and the scars of abandonment did not fade overnight. Harry watched the two women navigate this delicate dance, torn between hope and fear. Could they find a way to become a family whole again? The atmosphere in the Montecito estate had shifted since Sophia's arrival. What had begun as a shocking revelation now morphed into an ongoing struggle for recognition, acceptance, and the right to belong. Sophia was no longer just a secret whispered in the shadows. She was a living, breathing presence demanding acknowledgement. Sitting across from Meghan and Harry in the softly lit living room, Sophia's eyes were fierce with determination. "I'm not here to be hidden anymore," she declared, her voice steady but full of emotion. "I deserve a place in this family, not as an afterthought, but as a daughter." Meghan's face was etched with a mix of guilt and sadness. Harry looked on, torn between supporting his wife and understanding the pain etched into Sophia's words. "What exactly do you want from us?" Meghan asked carefully, her voice tinged with uncertainty. Sophia's gaze did not waver. "I want honesty, respect, and most of all, to be included. I want you to publicly acknowledge me, not just behind closed doors, but to the world. I want to meet Archie and Lilibet, to be part of the family events, to share holidays, birthdays, the everyday moments I've missed for so long." Harry leaned forward, concern flickering in his eyes. "Do you understand what that means for the family? For the children? This isn't just about you and Meghan. There are many lives that will be affected." Sophia nodded solemnly. "I do. But it's a risk I'm willing to take. I've lived in the shadows too long. I want to step into the light, even if it's uncomfortable." The room grew heavy with the enormity of her request. It wasn't just about acceptance, it was about reshaping the family dynamic in a way that none of them had anticipated. Sophia continued, her voice softening but no less resolute. "I don't expect this to be easy. I don't expect Meghan to suddenly be the mother I never had. But I want a chance, just a chance, to build something new." Meghan reached out tentatively, placing a hand over Sophia's. "I want that too," Meghan whispered. "I want to make things right." Harry watched the exchange with cautious hope. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but this moment, the first step toward healing, felt significant. The challenges extended beyond their private lives. The media had caught wind of Sophia's demands, and rumors spread quickly. Paparazzi staked out the estate, and every public appearance became a minefield of questions and speculation. Harry and Meghan debated the timing of any public acknowledgement, balancing Sophia's rightful place with the safety and privacy of their children. In private moments, Harry confided in close friends, grappling with the implications. "This changes everything," he admitted. "Not just for me and Meghan, but for the children. How do you protect them when the world is watching every move?" The answer was elusive. Sophia, meanwhile, prepared herself for the inevitable public spotlight. She reached out to legal advisors and public relations experts, determined to assert her rights while navigating the delicate balance between privacy and publicity. Her resolve was unshakable. The tension within the Montecito estate had reached a breaking point. Days of heated discussions, fragile negotiations, and fragile hopes had left Harry emotionally drained and conflicted. The revelation of Meghan's secret daughter had opened wounds deeper than he had imagined, wounds that no amount of love or forgiveness could instantly heal. One evening, after the children were asleep, Harry asked Meghan to meet him in the study. The room was dimly lit, shadows flickering across the walls as he awaited her arrival. When Meghan entered, her eyes were red from crying, her face drawn and weary. Harry's heart ached at the sight, but he steeled himself. "We need to talk," Harry began, his voice steady but heavy. "This secret, Meghan, it's changed everything." Meghan nodded silently, bracing herself. Harry took a deep breath. "I can't stay in a marriage built on lies. Not if the foundation is broken this badly. Meghan's eyes widened, disbelief flashing across her face. Harry, please, she started, but he held up a hand to stop her. I love you. I always have. But I can't pretend this didn't happen. I need to know that you're willing to be honest from now on, that there are no more secrets. If that's not possible, I don't know what happens to us. Meghan's lips trembled, tears spilling down her cheeks. I want to be honest, she whispered. I want to rebuild this for you, for our children, for Sophia. Harry looked at her intently. Words are not enough anymore. I need actions. I need transparency. And I need to see that you're willing to face the consequences, no matter how difficult. Harry's ultimatum sent ripples through their fragile family dynamic. Meghan realized that healing wouldn't come from hiding behind carefully crafted narratives, but from confronting the past head-on, no matter how painful. Sophia, too, watched these developments closely, recognizing that Harry's stance was a crucial turning point. Her relationship with Meghan and Harry depended on their willingness to embrace truth and vulnerability. Outside their home, the media continued to speculate, sensing the fractures beneath the surface. Stories about marital discord, family secrets, and public apologies filled headlines. Every glance, every word, every gesture was analyzed and debated. Harry found himself caught between protecting his family's privacy and addressing the public narrative that now controlled much of their lives. The ultimatum sparked intense conversations within the household. Meghan wrestled with feelings of guilt, shame, and hope. She understood that the road to redemption would be long and winding, requiring patience, courage, and unwavering honesty. Harry grappled with balancing his love for Meghan and his commitment to truth and integrity. Sophia remained steadfast, preparing to claim her place as part of the family, demanding recognition not just privately but publicly.